Hello, I'm Mark Hummel and welcome to Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party. And tonight I'm going to be talking to Peter Albin, the original bass player in Big Brother and the Holding Company, and one of my original idols. When I started getting into music, it was really through Big Brother and the Holding Company. And I saw pictures of Big Brother with their long hair and their beads, and I said, I'm going to be a hippie. And Janis Joplin just did something to me that made me hear the blues for the first time. And through her music and groups like Cream and Jimi Hendrix and even Blue Cheer, all these groups, I found out about blues, and I found out about people like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, Little Walter, Sonny Boy Williamson, Otis Rush. This was the intersection for me of blues rock and blues. And we're also going to talk about the Fillmore and the Avalon ballrooms, because that was really where these older bluesmen got to play with the younger rock bands, and it really preserved the blues on a national level in so many ways. So I think we got a great conversation for you on my podcast tonight. Thank you. All right, I'm Mark Hummel, and I'm sitting here with Peter Albin from Big Brother, and I'm just going to throw some names at him and just let him roll with it. So the first one I wanted to ask you about,
catch
Peter,
these names. Yes,
and thank you for being here today.
Sure, my pleasure.
The first name I wanted to throw out is Pigpen.
Yeah, Ron McKernan, Pigpen. Well, he was a guy that was in the folk music scene that I was involved in back in the early '60s. Down the peninsula. He lived in Palo Alto, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure where he went to school, but he was like, when I met him, he was like 15 years old.
Now, how old were you?
I was probably 17.
Okay.
I was at least a couple of years older than Ron. And we had this club, my brother and I, called the Boar's Head. And it was just a kind of like a meeting place on the weekends during the summers of 61, I think, maybe. We reached out to the Southern Peninsula folkies, which included Jerry Garcia, Bob Hunter, and they brought up with them friends like Ron McKernan, and that's how I got to meet Ron. And he was a great harp player, I thought. He also played a little bit of guitar.
And I heard he played piano.
He played a lot of piano, yeah. He came to my house one time, and my parents are middle-class parents, and he sits down, starts playing boogie-woogie and blues and stuff like that. But my mother said, he's got some problem with his face, because he had a horrible acne.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
he's got to do something about it. Maybe a compound that I can. No, Mom. Let's see. But anyway, he was a good guy, but he drank a lot.
He was a real talent, though. I mean, I really liked his guitar playing. I thought his guitar playing was really good.
Yeah, good guitar player. His father had something to do with blues in radio. Now, whether he was a DJ or whether he was a programmer, I don't know. But he had a fantastic collection of blues records. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Ron knew a lot of African-American folks back down in East Palo Alto.
East Palo Alto. T-Bone Walker lived in Palo Alto.
Wow, I didn't know that. There was a guy named David X, who was a singer that sang at the Boar's Head once in a while with Jerry backing him up, and Pigpen playing harp behind him.
So they already knew each other when you met him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether Pigpen knew him through Dana Morgan's, which was a store that Jerry taught guitar out of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we found out, that Brownie and Sonny were
right.
Sonny Terry Brian McGee were playing at a small club. I think it was probably down in San Jose, something like that. So
really?
we went down.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Probably 60, 61.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were like,
well, they were big on the folk scene.
Yeah. And the clubs, the folk clubs were very small.
See, I didn't realize that all of you went that far back.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't that many places,
right.
So you would meet these people. Garcia was playing in the kind of a back of one of the areas there, playing guitar. So we'd heard about him, and so my brother dragged me and David Nelson, who was a high school buddy of mine, down there, and we kind of like snuck around the bookshelves, because there's the famous Jerry Garcia.
Was he famous by that time?
Well, kind of. He
Yeah,
was the
he
guy that
kinda
could
had
play anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he was
kind
really
of
good.
a famous guy with musicians, basically.
And we found out that later he had been a rock and roll guitar player.
Ah,
And he also
okay.
played with Troy Weidenheimer at some of these frat parties.
Wow.
Yeah, electric guitar. But most of the time he was doing finger picking.
Right.
And then he got into banjo, 5-string banjo, and he could play anything. He could play
Right.
mandolin and whatever.
Right.
And so Pigpen was a friend of his, and that's how we kind of got to know
Interesting.
each other.
Because he seemed to have Pigpen seemed to have a pretty big imprint on the Dead and early on.
Yeah. Well,
Early on,
the early Dead gigs, he was the lead singer.
He was the lead singer. And then that brings me to how Janis Joplin and how you guys met.
Well, Janis Joplin goes actually about the same time.
Really?
When my brother went to San Francisco State College, he became like the San Francisco State Folk Music Festival director for 2 years.
And that's when you were saying you saw the Chambers Brothers and Barbara.
And Barbara Dane, And we did a show called The Midnight Special at KPFA with Gert Chiarito. It was a round robin thing with this huge microphone hanging down in the middle. And there was this girl sitting next to me, wearing a man's shirt and no bra, and just kind of ragged looking, with a guitar. And so me and my brother played a song, and then it would go round, So he opened her mouth. She started singing. It was incredible.
Wow.
It's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
Where did this girl come from?
Interesting.
Texas.
Yeah.
She came from
so
Texas.
had she just moved out?
She had moved out, and I think that was probably, I want to say, 63. And I could be wrong. I can be wrong on these dates, but 63, 64, she was in the Berkeley area. And I think that for a while, too, she went down to Venice, I think in New York. And my brother got a hold of her, and because we played another gig with a paying gig with her at the Coffee Gallery. And she didn't need a microphone. I mean, she was, she was incredible. Incredible singer, big voice.
Now, did Chet Helms have anything to do with
He brought her out.
Here?
He brought
That's
her
what
out.
I thought.
He's the first guy that brought her out.
I heard that. Yeah. He brought her out here.
So then but my brother booked her at the San Francisco State Folk Music Festival. She didn't show up. When the band started getting together, getting to Big Brother stuff, Chet mentioned her.
Okay.
And when he said, because we started looking for female vocalists,
Right.
we actually auditioned several. We started playing a jam session that Chet had organized. It was Wednesday nights in the summer of '65. There was like little podium kind of things in the downstairs basement area. It was a beautiful room. It had been like a ballroom for this family. Huh. It was all beautiful maple flooring and redwood siding.
Right.
And so we played there on Wednesday nights as like the house band.
Right.
So other people would come in, bands would come in. Sometimes they would need a bass player. That's when I started learning how to play bass.
So were you a guitar player?
I was a guitar player.
Oh, okay.
Most of the time. But I knew all the bass runs.
Right.
Playing bluegrass music.
Right.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right.
So then we started looking for these female vocalists, and Chet suggested Janis Joplin, mentioned her name, and I said, I know who she is. And James Gurley, who had joined the band, he said, I know who she is. We played in the same bill, because he lived in North Beach and knew her from that early time.
Interesting. Wow.
So then he said, let me call my friend Travis Rivers. He's down in Texas now. Now, does the name ring a bell at all? He was the manager for Tracy Nelson's band.
Oh, for Mother Earth, and that's
Mother
how
Earth.
that harp player that played in that band. What was
Powell
his?
St. John.
Powell St. John. Yeah.
Basically, Travis Rivers romanced Janis, and they said they would have sex all the way to California, And it was fun. But the moment that she landed, in San Francisco, then that kind of
all came apart.
That relationship fell apart, and she kind of gravitated to James Gurley, who was married at the time and had a kid.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel!
Oh man!
The story gets a little messy, but it's fun.
Now, how David get in there?
Later, that was about.
So he was not your original drummer.
No. Chuck Jones was the original drummer, and the first major gig that we did this is without Janis, was January in '66, the Trips Festival at the Longshoremen's Hall.
Wow.
By the Fisherman's Wharf.
And was that Kesey's deal?
Yeah, Kesey was involved, but it's actually 4 or 5 different entities that were involved in it. The Psychedelic Shop people, the Thalen brothers, were involved in it.
How close were you guys to the airplane? Were you guys pretty close?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had seen Marty Ballin in another group called the Town Criers back, again, in folk music days, probably 61, 62. He was really good. It was a good group. One of the people from Palo Alto, Joni Sims, a singer, and she said, I hear there's an audition for a rock group down at this club called The Matrix. Can you back me up? I said, sure, what do you want to do? And we went through this, a couple of songs.
And this was for the airplane?
We didn't know.
Oh, okay.
So we drove down to The Matrix, and I get in there, and there's, I think another person had just gotten off, so Joni just immediately jumped on stage. Hi, I'm Joni Sims, and this Peter Albin did this song. It was like we playing to nobody, except for a figure that was very dark and shadowy and way in the back of the room. I couldn't see.
Is that Marty Ballin?
And it happened to be Marty Ballin.
Okay.
So after we did our thing, we went back to, and Joni, of course, was very brash. Well, how'd you like that, huh, Sonny? You know, and I said, oh, it's Marty. Just oh, hi. You know, no, you're not our style. I'm sorry, but thanks for coming. So after that, then Big Brothers started to get together. We started rehearsing. We had these jam sessions in '65 during the summer, and that's when the airplane was getting together. But Ballin got together some of these people that he had either played on the same bill with or knew, from school or whatever,
Right.
And got this group together.
Now, were you guys, where you lived on Page Street, was that close to where they lived as well, or did they live in
Kind of.
So describe what that was like. I mean, all these musicians living
Getting
in
together.
Haight Street kind of before it kind of became the Haight-Ashbury. I mean,
Well, again, like
how did it happen in terms of people all kind of ending up in the same area?
Well, a lot of people heard about these jam sessions, and they lived in the neighborhoods or close by, would come. And so there was like a networking there. Garcia, would come. Pigpen sometimes would come.
So would you say that the scene really kind of came together in '66, '67?
I would say it started in '65, particularly
65,
with the airplane.
And were you guys living there in '65?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was living at 1090 Page Street.
Did you guys all end up living in the same house at one point?
Not in the Haight-Ashbury. We actually rented a place in Lagunitas in Marin County. Beginning in June of '66, and that's when we got
didn't know that.
We got
Wow.
Janis, and then she moved in.
So that's
she
how
had
she
a little
ended up
place.
in Marin.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
With the band.
Right.
So we had enough rooms in this place that people had their privacy, kind of.
Right. Right.
A lot of those kinds of houses out there were built probably in the '20s, and had paper thin walls, and you could hear people, doing things. So
That would get old. That would get old quick.
And Pigpen and Janis had a thing.
Like an ongoing thing? Or?
No, just once in a while.
It was just
thing,
once in a while. Because, I had a feeling about that.
Janis was
She got around.
She got around, and she got, not only men, she had.
Yeah. Well, there's a great story about her when she was, you remember the original Fleetwood Mac, right? The original band when it was a blues band.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They played.
I know they played the Fillmores. Yeah, and there's a great story about her, kind of basically taking Danny Kerwin and kind of taking him hostage for a week or two. Because he was like 18 or something. Yeah, he was like 17 or 18. Yeah. She just basically kidnapped him.
There's definitely some funny stories regarding Janis and her prowess and whatever.
Yeah. So Joe is somebody, Country Joe McDonald is somebody you knew.
Yeah.
What, from the Fillmore?
Band.
From the Fillmore.
Yeah, from the band. And he was basically, their band was a Berkeley band. It wasn't,
right. They were kind of the East Bay political band that nobody else would.
Right. It wasn't, we weren't that political.
I think they were one of the few political bands.
And did songs that were were politically oriented.
Right, right. And it seems like the San Francisco bands really kind of seem to steer clear of that more. Huh?
Yeah, and Big Brother first started out as a kind of a cover band doing some R&B stuff. We did overthreading stuff. We did a couple of gospel tunes, which appeared later on our first record. "Blind Man" is a song that we got from I believe it was a recording done in the South.
Oh, interesting.
And "Down on Me" is another one. That was some choir.
I thought that was you guys. You didn't write that?
We didn't write that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have that album still.
And that's an interesting record because it really
like
shows Janis, when she was starting.
It's a much cleaner recording than all the
Cheap Thrills and other stuff.
Yeah.
And her voice is clear.
Her voice is very clear on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Janis was a person who could do a lot with her voice. My wife and I had a baby that was just born in May. So we're moving into this house in June with the band. And we have this schedule that we stop rehearsing at like 9 o'clock or something like that. Most of these people start boogieing, but we had to say, we got 2 kids here.
Right.
They got to go to bed, we got to, So I'm upstairs with my wife, and we put the baby down in the little crib, and I'm starting to hear someone put on a fucking Joan Baez record, and turned it way up, I said, shit, it's supposed to be quiet time, So I go down the stairs, and I'm going to turn off the record player, and here's Janis playing Silver Dagger.
Really?
Yeah, sounds exactly like Joan Baez.
Wow. But I was going to say, did she know Barbara, by the way? Did Janis?
She had met Barbara.
I was going to say, because I always heard that she was influenced
by her.
The Dix
Oxtot Band was a group that she actually sang with and recorded with 2 songs. If you can find the...
You're saying Janis Joplin?
Janis with Dick Oxtot, yeah.
Wow.
And it was Barbara Dane and Phil Elwood that got her to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I never heard that before.
And they sat down and talked with Janis, and Phil played his record collection.
Wow.
Saying, you got to hear some of this stuff.
That's really interesting.
Because she knew Bessie Smith, and she knew
that's
Odetta.
What I was wondering. I was wondering if she knew who Bessie Smith was. I had always heard that Janis Joplin was... I mean, you can tell, like, you listen to something like
Turtle Blues.
Turtle Blues is very much of that kind of...
And that's a Janis song.
Right, but it's very much in that Bessie Smith kind
very
of
much so,
style.
and the backup is like that.
Right, exactly.
Kind of funky at the piano player and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm playing guitar in that.
Are you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
I noticed the guitar playing on that, so that's a good sign.
Kind of funky. Anyway, Janis knew a lot about that kind of music, and I think she was kind of like wanting to get into that scene down in Texas, and for a white girl from Port Arthur to start mixing with African Americans was kind of a no-no. And she went sometimes to New Orleans.
Did she?
And into Louisiana, I think, Port Charles.
That's right on the edge. Yeah.
So she told stories about like that.
And I want to get into this with Peter about how the Avalon and the Fillmore ballrooms were such an important kind of meeting place of the rock bands from San Francisco and a lot of the blues and jazz people, especially blues in particular, coming together and playing together on shows, who you got to play on shows with, and just how it kind of gave a big lift to blues music.
Yeah, well, I know that one of the first bands that Chet Helms from the Avalon Ballroom wanted to get was Butterfield.
Right.
And he didn't get them. Bill Graham from Fillmore Auditorium got that act.
Right.
And we got a chance to see them, and it was wonderful. But it seemed like both Graham and Helms tried to book a variety of, I want to say, soul acts, blues acts, some jazz, particularly with the Fillmore, because Graham loved Latin jazz.
Interesting.
And Helms loved Southern old blues stuff.
Right.
So he would try to get some of those blues artists on the bill with us. And it was easy to get many of the bands from San Francisco to play these local places because they were just across the bay or
Right.
down the street.
Yeah.
It was easy. And we got a chance to see some of the most fantastic players, particularly at the Avalon Ballroom. I remember seeing and playing with Bo Diddley.
Right. And that was a double bill for you guys, or did you just go see him?
It was a double bill. The music that Bo Diddley played was fantastic.
Right.
He was doing stuff on his guitar that was like mysterious.
Yeah.
You know. And later, Bob Cohen, who was the sound man, he figured out this guy's an electrician. And so we saw Bo Diddley later at Bob Cohen's studio, messing around with all sorts of different electrical equipment and stuff.
That's right.
You know?
He built his own guitar.
Yeah, he built his own guitar. So anyway, he had two female singers, but one of them played a violin.
Right.
It was gorgeous. And they had one dressing room that we all used. So there was not only us, but another band plus Bo Diddley. And we would just usually, there was like a big sofa. Everybody just threw their clothes on the sofa. And on top of the clothes were the babies. There was only a couple of kids in there. So Bo Diddley says, this woman needs to get a dressing room. You guys don't have any dressing rooms here. But this is it. You guys got to get out. So all of us in the dressing room, we leave, and then he locks the door behind him with the girl playing violin so that she can dress.
But he got to see her dress.
I think so. He didn't leave the room. He was in there with her. Anyway.
Bo Diddley was a smarter man than we give him credit for.
And we kind of palled around with some of the guys in the band. So when they worked at the Fillmore, we were also on the bill. We were upstairs in the balcony, and they give me a cigarette. He said, hey, you smoke cigarettes, don't you? And I said, sure, yeah, I'll take it, So I lit up the cigarette, and it had a load in it. And it just blew up in my face. And these guys are going, hey, we got the hippie. It pissed me off. But I didn't hit anybody. But, I just, peace and love. I said, fuck you guys. Walk into another dressing room. So it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
There was like kind of
a
difference.
Cultural exchange.
Cultural exchange. There's really kind of different kind of thing going on. And when we played the Fillmore with Howlin' Wolf, this is without Janis. We were playing a benefit at the Fillmore, and there's an upstairs area that you can. There's a back room where you can get sodas and whatever, and then there's like an area that there's some boxes, like balcony kind of seats, and then there's the dressing room. So he's walking down this way to the dressing room, and I'm just a 21-year-old geeky kind of guy, and and I'm trying to play harmonica, sometimes with the band even, but I play most of bass. So I say, Mr. Wolf, how do you play harmonica like you do? And he said, that's for me to know and you to learn. And he walked by me.
Yeah.
And he never taught me anything.
Yeah.
But you had to listen to him.
Most of the old guys wouldn't do that. They wouldn't show anybody anything.
No.
And that's still true to this day.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. I love your Jimmy Reed story too. Tell me.
The Jimmy Reed story we weren't working at the Fillmore, but we went to see the show, and I can't remember who was on the bill. I think it might have been Otis Redding.
Okay.
But Jimmy Reed was on the bill, and so these two big guys, one either side of Jimmy Reed, just holding him up by his armpits, and then they drag him out to the microphone, and he goes, you got me hiding, you got me peeping, you got me, and then you drag him off. And that was his show.
Sounds just like the Percy Mayfield show I did.
Oh, yeah, right. You told me that. Yeah. That happens a lot.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy liked to drink. So where were we? We were talking about Muddy Waters at the Jazz Workshop. You said you saw him when you were 17.
17 or 18 years old.
Yeah.
Got a chance to sneak in and not get carded and watch this great show. It was with James Cotton.
James Cotton and Otis Spann on piano.
Otis Spann on piano, and then Muddy doing his thing. It was really, kind of eye-opening. But we had heard a lot of their records.
Right.
I think that they Live at Newport might have already come out.
That would have been out because that was I want to say that was 1960.
Yeah, and we mentioned I think seeing Sonny Terry, Barney
Right,
McGee,
Sonny and Brownie. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the later Big Brother, I want to say in '69,
Right.
After Janis left,
Right.
And Sam went with Janis, and James went into vacation mode. David Nelson and David Torbert basically joined our group.
Oh, okay, and is that when Nick Gravenitis came in?
Not yet, not that
Okay.
time. He came in a little bit later. So we got a call from the Matrix saying, "Can you come down and back this guy Albert Collins?"
Wow.
So he said, "Well, we don't know his music too much. Hey, it's just a blues. You guys can fake it, you know." And at that point, I was playing guitar. I
Right.
wasn't playing bass. David Torbert is a bass player, and he's a very good bass player, much better than me at the time. So we kind of like, backed him up fairly well, I thought,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all these other musicians found out about it and started coming in and wanting to jam, including Carlos Santana,
Wow.
David LaFlame on violin, and a bunch of other
Crazy.
people. So we got kind of pushed in the background. We're just the rhythm section. Yes, but he was fun.
Yeah,
Ice
that's
Man.
great.
We played on the same bill with Howlin' Wolf.
Right.
But after Janis left, I think it was.
Okay.
And it was someplace out in Iowa, whatever. But the Avalon and the Fillmore really got us to like meet these people.
Right.
And be in the same dressing rooms or
Right.
dressing room, as it
Yeah.
was with the Avalon,
Yeah.
one room. And we got a chance to get friendly with some of these folks and see them sometimes in different locations, like the Matrix, but also when we were on the road.
Right.
And
Right.
see
So you'd
these
meet
people.
them there, and then you'd run into them on the road somewhere. Yeah. And I know that Bloomfield apparently had a lot to do with Bill Graham booking blues in there.
I think so.
That he kind of gave him this short list of this is who you need to book. You need to book Buddy and Junior, Otis Rush,
And
Muddy Waters.
he might have had the contact information too.
And I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
B.B. King. I mean, there's a great story about B.B. the first time he played the Fillmore, because he had played it many times when it was a black-owned nightclub.
Yeah.
And he pulls up in his bus and he sees all these hippies like lined up to get in, and he's like, "I don't think we should go in there. I think we got the wrong gig." And he goes in, and
funny.
and it's like, all of a sudden he's playing for all these hippies, and he's like,
Yeah.
they're loving what he does.
Yeah.
And apparently he cried. They said he
Wow,
cried at the end
wow.
of his set because he was
Incredible.
so well received.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, later on, when Big Brother became fairly well known in the East Coast, we played a club called the Generation Club. And it had something to do a little bit with Bill Graham. So we played, I think it was five nights, or maybe even 6 nights. With we were top of the bill, and who opened for us? B.B. King.
Yeah.
And we got to know him pretty well, and his set too. 'Cause we played generally the same kind
same
of set.
set,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we did too. But
Right.
we would talk sometimes, and so I think it was a Wednesday night. He was always early. And this night he was late. Why is B.B. King late,
Right.
Oh, someone said, "Didn't you hear that Martin Luther King was assassinated?"
Whoa.
And I said, "Oh my God, that's probably why he's late."
Yeah.
So he came in, but we didn't play until, he had to open the act, do the show.
Right.
And he started opening the act the same way he did the nights before, with the same pattern, and introduced the band and stuff. And then later he said, "By the way, you probably know that Martin Luther King was assassinated tonight, so I'm sorry. I can't do the same show that I usually do, so
Wow.
please just bear with me." And he started doing gospel songs.
How amazing.
And just the whole crowd just like shivered, and
man.
tears and stuff.
That's heavy duty, man.
It was heavy.
Yeah.
It
And
was
he
heavy.
was such a great he was such a great singer.
Yeah.
His gospel stuff was as easily as great as his blues
I guess
stuff.
so.
Yeah.
Because it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's heavy duty, dude.
and then that night afterwards, he didn't drink very much.
Right.
But afterwards, after the show ended, it was kind of a jam session. Jimi Hendrix was there,
Wow.
Todd Rundgren was there, and he started drinking.
Yeah.
And out in the audience was Jimi Hendrix with his little reel-to-reel tape recorder. And he's recording this jam session that B.B. King's sitting on his amplifier, with Todd Rundgren playing guitar, and I'm playing bass, and there's a couple other guys playing, someone playing, It just went on. But it was like one of those things that doesn't happen very often.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That is something.
So on Saturday night, we find out that the Imhoff guy wants to do an open house kind of thing on Sunday. And we said, no, that's the day of mourning, because that was
same weekend.
The president had said, it's the day of mourning.
Right.
So we go into B.B. King's little space there, the dressing room, and start talking to him about it. And he says, no, we have to play that. And I said, well, it's a day of mourning. We should respect. No. He said, what King was doing was what is happening here. I'm down in Manhattan, South Manhattan, not in Harlem. I'm with you white folks.
Right.
And we got to go on.
Wow.
And then he went on stage and did gospel music again.
That's beautiful.
And it just went,
yeah.
Wow.
That's a heavy story, man.
And then we played on Sunday.
Yeah.
And he did some gospel stuff, but Joni, what's her name?
Joni Mitchell?
Joni Mitchell came in, and she started singing, a couple of her songs, and then a verse, and then she said, forget that song. Let me try another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just got too heavy. And she had to leave.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was one of the heaviest experiences I ever had.
That is, man. How about Big Mama? She's somebody else that is so... I mean, I found out. I found out about her through you guys doing Ball and Chain. Yeah, I wouldn't have known who she was.
Wow.
Till I heard that.
Well, we had heard her. She did Hound Dog and whatever, and a bunch of her records we knew about her. And she was playing at a club called the Both And. It was a jazz club, and she did this song, Ball and Chain, and it was. It's not in a minor key. It's kind of like a more standard kind of blues.
Just standard blues. Yeah. Right.
But we really liked it, and I was with Janis and James Gurley was with us, and so we went backstage, and after she finished her first set, and said, we would like to do this song. Is it a possibility, that you could write down the words for us? Would you mind? I mean, we'd like to record it, and she said, well, who are you guys? And I say, well, we're just a band that plays the Avalon, the Fillmore, and and we're doing some recordings and stuff like that. And she said, okay, I'm going to write it down for you, but don't fuck it up. And I think she went like this.
That's great, man.
And I said, okay, all right. And she's heavy duty.
Okay, Miss Mama.
Okay, Miss Mama. And we played with her a couple other times. Yeah. And she'd go out to her car after her set, and she'd open up her trunk of her car, and she'd just sit there with the bottle, drink a little bit,
Drink.
But she noticed that Janis was drinking a lot,
Interesting.
And she came into the dressing room and said, you ought to watch yourself.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah.
That is heavy.
She says, it does something to you.
That's something.
So.
Wow.
And then later, we played the song and recorded it, and it helped sell cheap thrills.
Right?
So the record did quite well. It went to #1 for a while.
Right.
We found out later that from one of her managers, a later manager, Jerry somebody, I can't remember his name. And he said, you guys doing that song on that record, the royalties from that song bought her a brand new Cadillac.
That's awesome. Yeah, so, that's great.
Yeah.
Because a lot of blues people never got paid.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of blues people never got paid.
We made sure that they went
awesome.
to her,
Yeah. So this brings me to the big question, and that is how you guys ended up on Monterey. And from what I understood, you played 2 sets at Monterey. Was it true that one set was not recorded or something?
Right. Well, I think it was, but the cameras were supposedly turned down.
Right.
What happened was that we were going on stage on our Saturday
And this is the Monterey Pop
Monterey
Festival.
Pop Festival, and it was a Saturday.
Right.
And we were on the bill with the Quicksilvers
Right.
and Steve Miller and a
Right.
bunch of other people, the Country Joe.
Country Joe.
So it was the Avalon, Fillmore, white bands coming down south to Monterey to
Right,
play,
right.
but on a Saturday. You know.
Right, right.
Although the Jefferson Airplane did play at night, and the Grateful Dead also played at night show.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going up the stairs in the back to go to the stage, and someone's got a clipboard and saying, "You have to sign here for a release." And he said, "What's that for?" "Well, for the movie." I said, "What movie?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You can't do this. We have to
Right.
take a look at this stuff." Our manager said, "Please, you can't do this.
Yeah, you don't
put
do
the
it
cameras
as you're-
down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Put the cameras down. I don't want to see any cameras pointed to the stage."
Right.
So we did our set, and then we got a lot of praise, and it was really a good set for us.
Yeah.
And they said, "You got to go on again, and you got to be filmed this time." And we kept saying, "Okay, wait a minute." And then Janis got the word from, got the ear, her ear got pulled by Grossman.
Okay, so Grossman was there. Okay, he was
Grossman.
your manager at that point.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't?
Julius Carpin was our manager at the
Okay,
time,
all right.
and along with the other managers of the other bands, they said, "No, you can't pull this.
Well, I know.
This LA
that's
kind of
Yeah,
stuff."
it was
on
LA,
this.
and that was the funny thing. Monterey was really put together by
LA guys,
By LA guys, yeah.
Lou Adler
Yeah,
and
Lou Adler,
So
yeah.
we said no, but anyway, Janis said, "Guys, we got
John
to do
Phillips.
this. We have to do this," she said. So they planned for us to go on Sunday evening, and that was like the big show. The Mamas and Papas were going to close the whole festival that night. And it was after Ravi Shankar and his group, So it was like early in Sunday evening, and they let us do 2 songs, I think it was.
Really? That's all you did that was filmed?
Yeah, I think it was
Ball and Chain?
Ball and Chain and Roadblock, I think it was.
I don't even know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Well,
that's the story.
Yeah,
and
and
then
in a lot of ways, it seems like that was really the breakout moment for you guys, wasn't it? Between that and the Cheap Thrills record?
well, that was the time when the focus became more on Janis.
Really?
Yes.
It seemed like you guys kind of exploded at that
Well,
point,
we
though.
started working a lot
That's
more.
what I'm saying.
But all the press and stuff was on Janis, not on the
okay.
band. The band was just these hippie guys.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, in the movie, they clip out, they edit out James's solo
Really?
on that song, and he played a good
Whoa.
solo on that. So.
I never realized.
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, they shortened everything.
Wow.
Hendrix was wandering around the festival grounds and would pick up a guitar and start playing it. Tiny Tim was there and did the same kind of thing. There was another stage that was outside of the main auditorium, the main outside stage, and David Getz even played with Hendrix.
Interesting.
And that story I tell you about Hendrix, this is this is after the festival. He played at the Fillmore, and
That night?
the weekend after.
Oh,
that.
the weekend after that.
Yeah, and supposedly, well, he was going to be like second on the bill to the Jefferson Airplane, and the Jefferson Airplane had some gig they had to do down in Los Angeles. It came up or whatever on a Thursday night, so they hired us to be an opening act, and Hendrix was going to be the closing act.
Right.
So Hendrix comes into the room on Thursday. He said, "Well, where's the beer?" "Jimmy, they don't have beer here. This is for kids." Basically, young people. They don't have a liquor license here. He said, "Well, every gig I play, man, they have beer for me and the band. Come on, where's the beer?" I said, "Well, we'll go down to the Safeway store and we'll get some beer." So I take Jimmy out, and he's got this epaulettes on and this funny clothes, and this thing on his head and hair up to here.
Yeah.
And so we walk down to the Safeway store, and all the regulars at the Safeway store, the regular people who live in the Fillmore were going, "Who the fuck is this guy? What the hell?" And he
Looks like he just landed from Mars.
Mars,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And he's got the six-pack, you know, or
Right,
a couple of
right.
six-packs, you know, and buys it and goes out and comes back and drinks his beer, you know.
Yeah.
But it was so odd, you know. It's
Yeah.
like Jimi Hendrix in space, you know,
Right,
or from
that's
space.
wild. Yeah, there's a famous picture of him and Janis at the Fillmore.
Yeah,
Is that same night?
I
or-
think it might have been. Yeah.
Well, what I don't get is how did he end up with a nighttime slot? Because nobody knew who he was.
Well, they kind of knew who he was
Did
from
they?
the week before, yeah. But he wasn't as popular as the Jefferson Airplane, that's for sure.
No. I'm talking about how did he end up with a nighttime slot at Monterey, though?
Before we went on,
Yeah.
it was Hendrix
Right.
and his group arguing with the Who should go on before.
That's what I always
before,
heard. Yeah,
you know.
I always heard
So,
that story.
yeah. So I don't know if a coin was
basically
flipped
did
or
a-
something like
he
that.
basically did a
Yeah,
I'll
he
top this.
said, no, he said, you guys are the top act. You have to go on after. And they said, we're not going on after you.
Oh,
we know you.
Okay, so they already were hip to him.
Oh, yeah, because of England.
And that's
'Cause
how
that's
come-
where he was
that's how
had
come-
played.
That's how come basically when he did his show, he was like, okay, if you're going to make me do
Do
that,
this. I'll do
you're gonna
this.
pay
I'll
for
light
it.
my guitar on fire and do
Right.
everything, you know.
Right.
Funny. But I think if you watched carefully in the movie, someone slips him a different guitar.
Ah, okay,
I
that
believe.
would make sense.
I could be
believe
wrong,
that.
but
I believe that.
you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
he
Because he
says
normally never did anything like that.
no,
was
that was
just
like the
'cause of
first
The
time
Who,
or something.
Because the Who did that every time they'd play.
Oh yeah, they were
was their
kicking
whole
over
thing
the
was
drums and the smoke
destroying
bomb and the
everything. Right,
fireworks and stuff.
So he basically just kind of copped what they did.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But he also, humped the
He
amplifier.
humped the amplifier, and yeah.
That's funny. But
That's great.
He was a great guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Hey,
Peter.
it's been a
And let's-
pleasure.